Hi, it's Tina Hamilton here, and I have a special guest today, Vinit Dhruva. Welcome, Vinit. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Tina. I really appreciate you asking me on here. I've heard some of your podcasts before, and they are great. You
Oh,
do a great,
great.
amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's because of the great guests that we have. It makes it really easy. Vinit, first, I'd like to start off with Vinit's been, you've been heavily involved with EO for how many years?
It's now on my 14th year.
Wow.
All that means is I've given a lot of money to EO.
But you're one of the tenured members too. So, and you've served on the board quite a bit. And currently, and I think I can't say because I didn't know you before GSEA, but I feel like this is your passion project. Like you've done so well with GSEA. So first, if you'll tell everybody what is GSEA, and then what you've done a little bit with that, and then we'll move on to talk about your business.
Well, GSEA is the Global Student Entrepreneurs Award competition. And basically, it's made for students who are in college or in grad school, but simultaneously have a business. Now, think about that. I know what I was doing in college, and it wasn't that. So,
Right.
so it's just an amazing story where you get so energized by these students.
Oh,
Some of the students have made projects or made things which are things like concussion testing. When you get concussed, what happens? Well, somebody's going to tell you this is what you're supposed to do. How many fingers am I holding up? What am I saying? Read this
right.
backwards. And then it's very subjective. And
Okay.
they're going to ask you, hey, how do you feel? I feel great. I want to go back into the game. And so they've come up with an idea of within 15 minutes, they can take your saliva and tell you if you've been concussed.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's $1 billion idea.
I was going to say, I don't think there even is a test for that, is there, in the medical community?
No.
Holy moly. And
So-
these are young kids just getting going.
Yep. And so I think that is what really is my
Young adults.
passion. Yeah, the passion is there, right? And you learn from these students. That's the main thing. And of course, in EO fashion, it's about the story. It's not about the business per se.
Yeah.
So 70% of the rubric that they give is really based upon the story. Like, how did they get there? What did they do? What did they overcome? And maybe why did that happen? Well, I talked about that person who had the concussion test. Well, he was a hockey player all throughout his career. And he's actually like 6'7" or 6'5", so he was a bruiser, but he also got bruised once in a while and got
Okay.
concussed. And because of that, that's how it came about.
Incredible.
So-
Absolutely incredible.
These are the stories. These are the things that are amazing. This year, we had a student who built a shoelace. And you're like, shoelace?
Right.
What's a shoelace got to do? Well, that shoelace is as strong as Kevlar and as elastic as Lycra, and it won't come off. So now what happens is when you're an athlete and you're running or anything like that, if your shoelace comes undone, you could get a serious injury.
Absolutely.
And so Under Armour has now decided that they want to use this shoelace in one of their shoes.
Holy mackerel. That's
These are the students. Like,
incredible.
what the heck?
Absolutely.
Man, I'm
Wow.
a slacker.
Right? I want to go back in time when I see that. Like, right? I mean, we grew up in a different generation. You weren't encouraged to start a company. I mean, you were encouraged to go to college, perhaps, if
Yeah.
that. And I just want you to know, we have one of your alumni students as a guest. Paige is going to be here today.
Oh, well, Paige is one of my favorite. She's done, of course, the mascara.
Right.
And that mascara, it's funny, with Paige, I was talking to her, and just after she won our competition and then kept on moving forward, she and I would keep on talking. And the funny thing that happened was she basically said to me on LinkedIn, she posted, and I'd like to thank my mentor, Vinit Dhruva. And I'm like, wait, when did I become a mentor? What just happened?
We
here?
all knew that. Maybe you didn't know that, Vinny, but we knew.
Oh,
We saw you with her. She became almost like your second child.
Well, the funny thing is, like, these students are basically my
Yeah.
children's age.
Right.
And so it's very easy for me to feel something in terms of, your child.
Right,
Like, hey,
maternal.
I want to help. I want to help.
Especially when you see how great they are and how
Yeah.
inspiring they are. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I think what's really important is, like, we have a finite amount of time. So where are we going to spend this time?
Mm.
Are we going to spend it with people we know are going to succeed, who really can change the world?
That's right.
And I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think like with EO, we're taught that that is something that's possible, because we have so many other people who are doing things which you'll be like, wow, I didn't realize that that was even possible, but they're doing it.
And it's a great segue into what you're doing,
Yeah.
because within your business, you've become an innovator
Yeah.
in a way that I would imagine a lot of people don't even think about innovating in your industry. So I'd love for you to share your story. Tell us about your business and
Sure.
about your innovations.
So I know we're on a podcast, but I do have a prop that I will show you in a minute. So my company is called DFW Motel Supply and Textiles, and it's been 19 years since I've been in the business.
Incredible.
And if you can believe this was not something I thought I was going to be doing, because by profession I'm also a certified financial planner.
I didn't know that until today.
Yeah, so I was in accounting in college, accounting and finance.
Okay.
And I was all set to basically go into my accounting field. And I went to Drexel University, and Drexel has a co-op program. Through that co-op program, you basically get the opportunity to test out, different industries, because
Oh,
that's what co-op is. And so I got into accounting and I got into tax. I had everything set, and then what happened? Well, the company that I was supposed to go to actually went under.
oh no.
And then once it went under, I was like, what am I going to do? So our family has a financial and tax planning business. So I jumped into that with my parents,
Okay.
with my dad. And so I learned a lot from that. And there was an opportunity where we were doing the financial and tax planning work for one of our relatives. And they also had the same business down in Dallas. And so we're like, okay, maybe we can take this business and actually have it for my wife, because my wife's an MBA. She wanted to do something on her own.
Oh,
So while we were creating this baby, we had our second baby. And then it ended up that my wife couldn't join the business. So I ended up having to do everything in the business. And I was trying to juggle two businesses at once,
oh no.
and
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Right.
It can't
course.
work.
Right.
And so finally, especially when you're trying to build it from scratch. And so
Sure.
one of the things that I always remembered was that, how do I start this business and not ask like my parents for help? So we went from 2 incomes, because my wife and I were both working before.
Oh, right.
So 2 incomes to 1 income
And one new child.
to 0 income
Oh.
to negative income.
Oh.
So when I started this business, we had to come up with $600,000 for inventory. So I second mortgaged my house.
Oof.
I got money from friends and family. And then I was all in. So it becomes failure is not an option.
So you gave up the other business.
I kept on running it as much as I could
Okay.
for a short period of time,
Got it.
meaning like maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And then I gave it up in the sense that I shifted all my clients to my father,
Oh, wonderful.
who is certified financial planner, master's in financial planning, accredited estate planner, like you name it.
Perfect.
So my clients were like, "Oh, you're gonna give us to what? You're just a certified financial planner. He is all these other things."
So it was a plus.
So it worked out fine in that regard.
Sure.
But yeah, this business was very difficult, and I mean, I could talk about it if you
And
want.
it's a whole nother world, right?
Yes.
Than what you were doing.
So when I started off the business, there was nothing. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any.
So this is a brand new business.
Yeah.
But somebody had it, or
No.
she was starting it. She was
No,
going to
so
start
my
it.
wife and
Right.
I started it together,
Oh, right.
quote,
Okay.
unquote.
Sorry. Yeah.
right?
Got it.
So it was supposed to be for her, but as soon as we started it, like we got all the inventory and
baby
we got
came.
everything,
Yeah.
we found out that my wife was pregnant.
All right.
And so she tried to make it work,
Right.
but then eventually it wasn't working out. And so we decided that, you know what, I'm going to have to take the reins on it.
Sure.
And I can still remember when it first started, like I don't have any clients. So I basically got my first vehicle for the business, right? Delivery vehicle was an SUV, which I owned.
Okay.
So I basically would end up having a half an employee. What does a half an employee mean? Well, he only worked half the day for me. And so he would come in, he would help me get the goods from the warehouse and load them up into my van, into my SUV. And then I would go and make my delivery. So when I went to my deliveries, one of the places up near you, Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
That was my first client. Was
Oh.
there at the it was the Days Inn in Allentown.
Oh, yeah, I know
And
exactly where that is.
that was
yeah.
my first client, and who paid actually, I should say. And so
Paid.
like who paid me right as soon as I gave
Got
my
it.
goods to him. Other clients would ask for credit. Other clients would, things of that nature.
Sure.
And so I went there in my SUV. I delivered to him, and then I asked him, who are some of the people that are around here that I can, talk to,
Beautiful.
right? And that's one of the things that we, need to understand, that when we're learning, when we're
Right.
going into a new business, there's opportunities all around us.
And people want to help.
Yeah,
People are
Exactly.
afraid to ask, but the fact is most people want to help other people
Ha-
if they like them, if they feel good about them. Yeah.
exactly. And so I asked him, he basically told me certain people. And then what I also did was every time I'd go to a delivery of sorts, I would actually paper the whole area around that delivery area.
Smart.
So that means I would drop my sales flyers to
Okay.
all of the hotels that were around that delivery spot.
Yeah.
So I was building another opportunity. So
Sure.
I think when I listen to, books are really important to understand and to educate yourself. So one of the things that I remember is the 10X Mentor, and that's Grant Cardone. And Grant Cardone says, how contacts lead to contracts. And so that's what happened, right? That was a contact that I made at the Days Inn. And that led to other contacts, which led to my
I
business.
love that. Such a simple phrase, but so meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where that's how I built.
Constantly making contacts.
Yep. And the other thing is, like, many times you're not trying to sell, right? So when we talked about innovation, which is what you had suggested earlier,
Yeah.
there was an opportunity that I got where there was a big 1,000-room property.
Okay.
1,000 rooms.
That's
It's
a big one for you.
big
That's a
property.
big, yeah.
It's a big hotel.
Okay.
1,000, 1,500 rooms. And they had a bid contract. And a bid contract basically is, hey, this is what we're going to spend in a given year. And this is the items that we need that we're going to spend on. And in that bid contract, you're supposed to say, okay, well, the item that you're looking for, in this case, it was an ironing board and an ironing board cover. And they said that they were going to spend 1,000. They utilize 1,000 pieces of ironing board and ironing board covers through the course of 1 year. And
So every year they have to replace them?
yes, because there's so much usage that goes into them. There's so much damage. There's so much,
Well, the average person doesn't even think about
yeah,
an ironing board in a hotel room.
exactly.
It's just there.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so I said to them, I wanted to have a contact with them, right? I needed to be in contact with them. So I asked them, would you mind if I came in and showed you my ironing board and ironing board cover, because it's unique and it's part of innovation. And they're like, we normally don't allow people who are bidding on our contracts to come in
Right.
and actually talk
Because
to us.
a lot of people are bidding and they're
Yes,
looking at all the bids.
exactly.
Right.
But
Fairness.
they said, because you're a brand new small business, we'll allow you to come in.
Okay. Perfect.
And when I got there, it was not about the sale, it was about the contact.
Right.
Because once I made that contact and they now see me and now understand who I am, it's my story again, right? And so that was the opportunity that I had, where now I was able to show them that, look, this ironing board that I have, most ironing boards are just single leg tubes.
It's one in the middle or whatever.
Yeah,
it comes
one
down.
that comes down,
Right.
and that's it. Ours is a double T leg, it's called. So
okay.
it's stronger. one of the big things that happens is when you stay in a hotel room, what happens? People abuse anything and everything that's in the hotel room.
Right.
They would never do it at home, but they'll do it there because
Yes.
they own that hotel room, right? They paid for it. And so there's a lot of damage that happens. And so with this, there was that opportunity where they now understood that, hey, this could be something that could save us money. And what I did was
Because it lasts longer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So what I did was I made it as inexpensive as a single T-leg ironing board. And then what happened was they took it and I got that bid because I guess they wanted to see if it would work the way I said it would. And the crazy thing is I lost money. And the reason why I lost money is they said that it was going to be 1,000 ironing boards that they were going to use. Well, guess what happened? Our ironing boards were so good that they only had to buy 700
Wow.
for the year. So they made money.
They're
I
thrilled.
lost money. But in overall, the real thing is that I actually have that contract, if you want to call it a contract, still to this day without any bids. There is no
No
bids
more
and
bids because they're
there's no
so
more bids
thrilled with
because
your
they're-
ironing boards.
Because they're like, this is amazing because now we are saving money. And so with that, it's called innovation, right? And another thing that we like to innovate is like when you look at the ironing board cover, well, what's normally in an ironing board cover? There's an elastic band that goes on the cover that holds it together, right? It keeps it tight.
Okay.
Well, most hotels, that always comes off. And once it comes
Who
off,
knew?
the elastic comes off. Now that ironing board cover is moving all around.
Right.
So what did we do? We said, hey, what can we do so that doesn't happen? Well, here it is. Velcro, baby.
Simple. Velcro.
Velcro.
And you literally.
Yep.
And so do you normally design your own products or you normally buy them in bulk somewhere?
No, so, I mean, there's always innovation, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
the ironing board covers,
incredible,
they
yeah.
always come, the normal way.
Right.
But because we listen to what is the roadblocks in our customers and our clients, what are their roadblocks? What is something that we could do to make their life easier?
Right.
And so that's what this innovation was. This was a way for us to innovate to make our customers' lives easier. Now, again, they're not having to buy 1 million more ironing board
Right.
covers. And over time, we can make this a little bit more expensive, right? We are selling a
Right.
product. We're basically giving a better product. And when you give a better product with these kind of functionalities, your client also stays with you. They're not going to change. Your customer's not going to change for pennies now. And that's
Right.
what usually happens,
Right.
right?
Okay.
People change. They think that they have something that's cheaper someplace else.
Right.
But when you innovate and when you show that you care about your customer, that you're there as a person that's going to help them save money and grow their business, that's when you get a customer.
Because it would be really easy for you to go out and buy, in this example, 1,000 ironing boards
Yep.
for cheap, just to get in cheap so you
Yeah.
get the deal, which is probably what a lot of people do. Let me get this deal.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think when I talk about this, I also think about the grit that we have. Like
Yes.
as entrepreneurs, grit is one of those things that nobody can teach you. But I think when you look at other people and you see it in them
Yeah.
and you take it to heart, there's many times, prime example, when I started my business, I told you before that we went from 2 incomes to 1 income
Right.
to 0 income to negative income. Well, Tina, just like any other entrepreneur, there was 6 months, the first 6 months, where I didn't take out any money from my business. 0.
0, not a dollar.
So now what does that mean? That means that money has to come from someplace.
Right.
And so what happened was during that time frame, we took it out of savings. So we basically depleted all our savings.
So now you're really taking a gamble, and you have a new child.
That's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
the grit was that I knew that I had to do it, and failure was not an option.
Right.
And that Angela Duckworth talks about grit. You can go on and see her
Oh.
TED Talks. She talks all about grit. And that is, I think, one of the biggest things about being an entrepreneur. If you have the grit, it's that entrepreneurial mindset. What happens when you have that failure? What happens when something doesn't go the way you want it to go? How are you going to now move forward?
Right.
For me, it was after those 6 months, I'm like, okay, I need to take some money out of the business, but what can I afford to take out?
Right.
Right? So I gave myself $50,000 for the year. Now think about this. I have a house. I have a second mortgage on that house. I have 2 kids now. And I'm started this brand new business where all you have to do is keep on replenishing this inventory.
Right.
I can still remember where one time I couldn't pay my my mortgage, and what was I going to do? So on my credit card, you get cash back. My wife didn't know it at this time, but I took that cash back and paid the remainder of my mortgage with that cash.
Holy moly.
So basically, I took out all the rungs on that ladder, so there
There's
was
nothing
only
left.
one way to go,
Yeah.
and that was up.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy.
So I think that one of the biggest things that people don't realize is that there's always opportunity to fail. But what can you do to get up again and go?
Right. I love that message because so often people ask me, how did you keep going? How did you, especially during the downturns,
Yeah.
which we were talking about a little bit earlier. And I don't think there was ever one time where I just, like you said, failure's not an option, but I think the difference is thinking failure's not an option, or just your motion is just, you just know this and you just keep doing it. There was never a time where I was thinking about failure. I mean, obviously I was worried about failure, but I never thought I would fail. I just, no matter how low, and like you, there's been times, I won't go into it, where I was out of money and trying to figure out how to whatever, eat. And you just keep, if you would just keep going, right? If you were anywhere and, your situation was negative, you would find a way to keep going. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't enter your mind to fail because you don't have time to think about that. You have to keep going. Anyway, yeah. So that's a beautiful story. And now here you are. Yeah. How many years later you've been in business?
It's 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah. And so in terms of the 19 years, we've definitely grown a little bit.
I would say. Yeah. How big are you now?
So now we have 3 warehouses across the country.
Amazing.
So one here in South Jersey area, one in Dallas, Texas, and one in California. We're also endorsed by Best Western. We're endorsed by Red Roof. And then the third endorsement is by Choice, which is one of the largest franchises out there. It's your Comfort Inn, Comfort Suites, Quality Inn. It's also your sleep-ins, your Econo Lodges, your roadways. So it's a big
Wow, it's a
group.
lot.
And, one of the things they talk about is, well, people say, like, what do you actually do, right? Like, what is this DFW? And so we actually supply hotels with all their supplies, from little soaps and shampoos up to mattresses and everything in between.
Oh,
so
nice.
sheets, towels, pillows, pillowcases, refrigerators, microwaves, hair dryers, irons, ironing boards. So jokingly, and my wife hates it when I say this, is jokingly, I tell you, next time you stay at a hotel, steal everything. I'm joking. Come
I think
on.
you've told me that before in hotels where we've gone on trips together.
But when my customers hear that, I can't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if any of my customers or clients are out there listening to this, I didn't say
he
that.
didn't
It was
say
just a joke.
That's awesome. Well, I might steal the ironing board if I'm going to steal something.
Well, that might be a little bit tough to get out the door, but okay, if you
I've
really
heard
want to
it's
do that.
I heard it's good high quality. That's awesome. I'm so impressed with everything you've done, and you've achieved from nothing,
Yeah,
an industry you know nothing about,
yeah,
and here you are being endorsed by some of the largest names in the industry. That's pretty impressive.
yeah. It's one of those things where, you know, hard work does pay off, right?
Yeah.
And it's a blessing. I mean, we always talk about gratitude and giving back and things of that nature. And I think that's one of the things that has really, I feel in my heart. I feel like giving back, you know, being it through GSCA,
Yeah.
being through many different aspects of it. That's I think one of the biggest.
Clearly visible about you, because every time I see you and we talk, you seem to always be looking for ways to give back to somebody somewhere. You're always offering up advice. You've done amazing work with GSEA. I can't even describe like the relationships I've seen you have with the different people, especially with Paige,
Yeah.
who we've gotten to know and love, and she's become
Oh,
part
yeah.
of our community almost.
She's been one of the shining stars of what GSC is all about.
Right.
And I think with Paige, she has that drive that, I mean, okay, so she's a dancer by, you know, throughout all of her life.
Right.
And one of the things that she always thought about was, well, you know, I always use mascara and then I'm always throwing away this container of mascara. So what do I do? And she thought of it, and she came up with a tablet and a liquid
Yeah, and she'll be
and
talking about
a
that
CAD
next.
designed
She'll be here. Yeah.
product. And out of that, you know, we think, okay, that's great, she's doing this.
Right.
But that's not the end of it. She's done TED Talks. She's also, crazily, with all the time that she has, she's also a Flyers
Right.
dance team
Dance
member.
She has so many things going on. But you know, what I notice about her and others that have been in GSEA, the little bit that I've
Yeah.
seen, I know you know them more intimately than I do. There's some level of confidence.
Yeah.
When somebody can just become confident, and what is confidence? It just means you're certain about something, right? You feel
Yeah.
certain. You don't have to think about if you're certain or not. You just are. And people see that in you.
Yeah.
And in her, there's no question. They see that in her, and of course in somebody like you. And then that commands respect, because people respect people that are confident and not wishy-washy or, you know, not certain about what they want to do. And I imagine just there's no question in my mind that you're a savvy business person, but your overall personality and your sense of giving, you always want to give back.
Yeah.
And you always look to do the right things, and I think people see that in you, and I guarantee that had to be a big piece of your own success.
Well, I always look at, you know what, it's always a give and take relationship.
Yeah.
Anytime you're in a business where you're relying on other people, right, to buy your product, to buy your service, do anything like that, it's like, what are you doing for them to make their life easier?
Right.
To really have that ability to give to them, right? Many times there's opportunities for people to buy from anybody, right? There's so much competition out there. What makes you unique, right? And that's one of the things that I think I strive to do, and my company, we strive to do. To this day, we are more about high touch, which means if you call us right now, you're going to get somebody live. After hours, you're going to bounce to somebody's cell phone.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
That's incredible.
In this day and age,
No.
you're talking to a live person and not a computer,
Right.
or not somebody.
And we're talking about supplies. We're not talking
Yeah.
about emergency items here. I mean, I'm
exactly.
sure there's some emergency items there, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's incredible. Good for you. And
Yeah.
you're going to keep that going no matter what the world dictates.
Exactly.
Because it'd be real easy for you to replace that with AI or something else, right?
And you know what? It's one of the things that makes us unique.
Yeah.
And you talked about emergencies. So one of the things that I think about, and I still can't believe it to this day, is that one time I heard on the news that there was a fire at one of my fire in the laundry area of one of my hotels that I
Oh, boy.
serviced, right? And so I was like, oh man, we're coming up to this long weekend, and they had a small fire. It wasn't a major fire, but it was a
Right.
small fire in their laundry area.
Boy.
What does that mean? That means to me that they are going to need linens and they're going to need towels
Oh, right.
because it happened in the laundry area.
Right.
So what I did was, as soon as I heard about that, I told my guys, hey, we service this account. I know what type of product they use.
Sure.
Take the product, go there right now and make
Beautiful.
that delivery. They were so surprised that I actually delivered this product to them without them having to think about it
Unbelievable.
or call me. Those are the types of things that we talk about. I mean, you know, one of the things that we did at the Ritz-Carlton, right? When they talk about Ritz-Carlton, that's the type of service that they give too, right? And that's the type of, when we're in business, we have to think about, well, what is it that we can do that goes beyond just taking an order?
Right.
And that was what I did. And Ritz-Carlton does the same exact thing,
Yeah.
right?
Beautiful.
When you come up to a Ritz-Carlton, they're supposed to, when you come to the front desk, they're supposed to look you in the eye. They're supposed to address you by name. And in this day and age, if you ask for a paper, the thought has to be there where I'm not just going to give you that paper, but I see that you're going to be staying at our property for the next 2 or 3 days. You would say something like, would you mind if we brought the paper to your room? That's that next level of thinking that we need to ingrain in our employees.
Yeah, I love that.
And also really make sure that we're also taking care of that too.
Right.
Like, those are the types of things that really differentiate one business from another business.
100%. Right.
Right.
And makes them not have you bid anymore when that was their standard protocol to
Yeah.
bid.
Yeah. And so I think I'm not perfect. And I've
Yeah.
also, you talked about confidence. There's many times I have not been confident.
Sure, of course.
We all go through that phase, or many times we think about, you know, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? It's that imposter syndrome.
Oh, 100%.
And all I can tell you is that you're good enough, you're smart enough, you just got to keep on plugging away.
Right. That's right.
I mean, that's all it is.
I love that message.
So that's what I live by. And that's, I think when we talk about GSEA, that's another, like, I guess if it's mentorship, that's how, I relay that message to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are students. At the end of the day, they're 19 to 25-year-olds.
Right.
I mean, think about when you were 19.
No, I can't even.
Or 18.
When I see these people building major companies at such a young age, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different. It's different, but yeah, you've done. I mean, you've just done so much good work with them, and with your own business, and in the EO community. So
Yeah.
you may not be perfect, as you said, but we love you, and we love having you around, and I loved having you here. I think your messages have been great, and I think a lot of people are going to gain a lot from this today. So thank you.
Tina, I really appreciate your time, and with Vince and everybody here, I really appreciate you guys as well. It's been an amazing experience,
Great.
and I hope you guys. Well, I hit that, but that's okay. I hope you guys also got something out of it, and so
I'm certain they will.
So thank you
Well,
again.
thank you. Thanks.